Football for me, it means people. Everyone who's involved for the right reasons. They want to play because they love the game, they want to be involved, and it brings connection between everyone, whether it's standing on the sides, whether it's in the crowd, just watching and not playing.
And with football being for everyone, whether you're a coach, a player, an aspiring player for the future, someone seeking a scholarship, a teacher, a youth worker, a professional, a volunteer, someone seeking to get involved in the game, a volunteer parent, whether they're reflecting on their journey and how they can understand their grassroots team, an aspiring academy coach yourself, no matter what and no matter where you're listening, this podcast is really for you. On the Reflective Coach podcast, there are so many wonderful guests that feature on a podcast, whether this is former professionals, current professionals, and professionals of all backgrounds within the Coaching Insight series that really inspire, understand, support, and are reflective amongst this journey as they share their own insights, experiences, their own journey, their own reflections, strategies, insights, and other stories into the Reflective Coach podcast. Each week features a new guest, and each new guest brings something new to the podcast. I've been so lucky to have so many wonderful guests on, and you can really listen to all the episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and Podcast Addict, with continuous updates on Twitter and LinkedIn. By subscribing, commenting, following, engaging with all the posts amongst social media, you can really keep up to date with all the episodes.
I think with coaching as well, and that's what I say my motto with coaching is it is life, because they run so parallel. You can take what you can take from life, you can put into football, and what you can put from football, you can take it into life, like with teamwork skills and so forth. And I think that's where it's very powerful. Different things in our life, what can we do about it to make sure that we don't get in this situation again? And then you try and use it as an open discussion for hopefully when people come to the party and say, okay, yeah, I'll do this differently, or I'll do that differently. But yeah, football's helped me because it's given me that release. It's given me that independence, I suppose, to try and nurture on that and to build and find others that are probably that have gone down the same slope or same route.
Glad to hear, glad to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, of course, no problems at all. How's your day going? All right, or?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. I had to go to doctors this morning, but what's new there, I suppose.
That's it, mate. But you're looking well, and that's the main thing, which is behind it all, really, isn't it? So it's I'm glad that you're in a good position right now. So
thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just been a whirlwind over the years, It really has. So.
Massively, of course. I've seen it on your Facebook and your socials and stuff, and it's a tough time to go through, and what you've been through, and seeing that just from the outset is hard, mate. Just seeing it, but going through it yourself, it's really difficult. So just shows how much of a warrior you are, and it's the good thing is that you're still here, which is the main thing, mate.
I appreciate that. Thank you ever so much.
That's right, no problems at all. So, you've got a wealth of experience behind you. You've obviously started this journey, which you've come on now, and you've now launched what this program and this cause is. But I'm not going to delve too much into that because it's your baby, it's your sort of initiative. So I'll let you introduce that. But whether you wanted to start yourself off with your background, your introduction, who you are, and what you hear and what your program is.
Yeah, certainly. So my name is Jordan Stringer. I'm 25 years of age, and I'm ready now to share my story and hopefully inspire as many generations as possible through all walks of life, for goods, for downs, for roller coaster emotions, I suppose. And you may think at 25, well, what have I had to go through? Surely it's not a lot, but you well know, Luke, it's there's a lot to it, really,
Absolutely, there is, and you were a football coach and still are at heart, and what you do that doesn't leave you, and you were in a good place because I think when I met you or got to know you, you were at Chelmsford Town, isn't it?
Yeah. So when I met you, I was with Chelmsford City. Yeah, I was doing youth section there. Was appointed to work with their under-17s for a season. which we'll go into at some point, which was a journey and a half. And then followed on with the under-18 season. And then it came to an abrupt halt where I had to take some leave due to some health reasons. And then from there, was looking to getting back into it and everything. And COVID came along. So it really put pay to any sort of plans that we was hoping. And as you say, still looking to coach. I mean, with football coaching, I have taken a bit of a back burner from it, taken a bit of a breather, because I want to try and see what's the right thing for me at the moment. I want to try and hopefully, again, share this story to inspire others that are looking to go down this path, or for reasons why I'm doing it, I suppose, as well. So, but just when the time's right, I suppose, you know, time is of the essence, but just I can't rush into it.
And you know, that's the case in it. You know, not rushing into it, and making sure you put yourself first, because as we know, the game and the world can sort of rush us back into things, and we might find ourselves in situations and times when it's not the best situation for us. So you know, having that sort of true definition of saying no to things and knowing what works for you and knowing the timing is going to be when you say so, I think that's absolutely the right decision in terms of how you're approaching things.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's it with coaching. It's very how do I put it? It's very intense, isn't it? When you're in it, your mind just races like mad. Like you're focusing on training plans, coaching sessions, then suitable, ready for a match day, what it all entails. You know, for registration of players, everything like that comes into force. That there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't realise that comes into with coaching and management. And it does get quite tiring on the brain because it's constantly a focus. And it got to one stage when it was with Chelmsford that I was having thoughts running through my head and everything like that. And it's like, wow, I can't sleep. I'm just too buzzed, if you like, to think about what's going on next, what the possibilities are. Then the negative thoughts come in of, well, if this doesn't go to plan, what can you do to adjust for that, to have a contingency plan in place if it doesn't go to plan, I suppose. So all them different things race through your mind.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. So, obviously, you're 25. You went into coaching, and that's where you were at. And that was your experience. But why did you start coaching? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, so pretty much it's going to be quite a long answer, so I do apologise.
That's fine, completely fine.
So when I was when I was younger, obviously I just absolutely loved football, and my granddad was the one that got me into football. He's a massive Spurs fan. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing in my book.
Thanks. So yeah, massive Spurs fan. Because like my mum wasn't really into football. My dad, like, he separated from my mum when I was very young, but he was never into football himself. So it relied on that opportunity, I suppose, for my granddad to take me to my first Spurs game. And that was against Everton. I think it might have been 2005-ish. And beat Everton 5-2, and I remember that. It was a cracking game, but obviously seeing players live in action, just fell in love with everything that came around it, with the atmosphere and so forth. When I was going through school, I was like, I really want to play, but I couldn't play because I've got dyspraxia. So it was in a sense of, I can't play, and it left me feeling really dejected, really low, because I was trying to offer my services and try and go on trials even at a young age, get into local teams. They said, no, can't take you on, won't take you on. And once when I had dyspraxia, actually, because I've got dyspraxia for life, but because it was mentioned, one team wouldn't take me on at the time because of being dyspraxic. They was like saying, well, because you can't do your shoelaces, for example, we can't keep looking after you in the sense of doing your shoelaces up for you, as an example. You've got to learn for yourself. He said, but I can't, I struggle. It's an impairment, like, you know. So obviously that left me feeling low. And then it was when I got into transition with secondary school where there was a PE teacher that I call him John Morgan now because I've seen him outside of school, and he said to me, right, because you can't take part in lessons as such because of your impairments, your struggles and so forth, why don't you see these football lessons I'm putting on for your class and take it in if you like, see if you enjoy it, like, and you just help me set up some cones where I tell you where to go and so forth. How does that sound? So I said, yeah, that sounds good, like. And he said, I want to see what your opinion is on what you've seen from your class and so forth. So I was coming out with words like, bearing in mind I was like 13, 14, then, they're too compact and everything like that and so forth. Like, and he said, that's really good for you to know that, really. And he said, have you ever considered, like, obviously, because you've said to me about with playing, when you've finished education, would you be interested in looking at your coaching badges? And I was like, surely I've got to, like, physically show with coaching as well as, like, when you're playing. So I don't know how that would work. And he said, it can be a bit of both. You can show, but also you can have your own imprint on things, how you see football, how you, if it's that you bring everyone together again, or whether you, just boost morale. Whatever you do, a coach has different policies, different roles that they can bring to the table. So how does that sound to you? And I said, I'm not sure. And then it came at the end of school, going into sixth form college, that I was thinking about it more and more because I was really interested in what he was doing. And I said to myself, this is not like me because I'm really low in confidence anyway. But I was just looking at my first FA Level 1 coaching badge. And I said to my mum, I'm really interested in this, but then I don't feel I can do it just because of my confidence. And she said, it's up to you. In the end, I bit the bullet and said, I'm just going to do it. Booked on for course. And again, first day, I was literally, because of anxiety, I was just shaking with anxiety. But I said to tutor, I'm not very confident and so forth. Hope you understand, and this is my additional needs as such. Hope you can help cater for that. And he said, no, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you feel you can do, great. If you can't just observe and watch. That's just as important. So I said, okay. And that's what I did for all that course, really, is I just observed and watched because I found it really interesting, where I found it more learning, watching what others were doing than me doing it yourself, if you know what I mean, practical. So yeah, and that's where the journey really started, I suppose. And it was in sixth form college that my tutor said to me, do you want to look into doing some volunteering somewhere? And I said, that sounds a plan. And it came about, I thought I'll go back to my former secondary school because there was a disability club there for lunchtime and it was called SHOTS. So it stands for Schools Helping Out Towards Success. And it was for students, if you like, to go there at lunchtime, but they was able to take part in board games, communication, sports as such, but there was like a football section. And I thought, that sounds a bit of me when I was a student there, and that's what I did. And when I was looking into volunteering, Luca, I said to them, are you still running that club for football side? And they said, yes, we are. So I thought, I'm going to try and see if I can go back there and see what they say. And spoke to the teaching assistant that was running it, and the headmaster that I knew at the school, saying, would you mind if I come and did volunteering with this football side? And they welcomed me with open arms. And that's where the journey began in my coaching development, if you like, just doing that little lunchtime session with football students.
Well, that's how I pretty much started out. So I was in the sixth form. I was doing my Duke of Edinburgh and Welsh back at the time, and we had a sports development team in. And he said, "Do you want to help out volunteering as part of your volunteering hours?" And it led me into sports coaching, then into the football route, and now here I'm at doing podcasting and a wealth of experience behind me, a UEFA B license, thousands of hours volunteering, and that just started from one lunchtime. Do you want to come along and do a football session? To a 10-year commitment and an outlook on towards what the future future could be and where it could go. But you've gone through a lot there in terms of that, and there's so much within that to unpack. But just for those listening and maybe querying, what is dyspraxia? How does it limit you, or what does it prevent you from doing? What are the sort of situation around it that surrounds you every day?
Yeah, so with that, it's a coordination condition, if you like. I mean, I was looking into what they described it as, even online, and it used to be referred to as clumsy child syndrome, which, for me personally, I think that's a bit of a horrible way to explain it, if you know what I mean, because you associate with clumsy to being absolutely anything, whether that's being, I suppose, falling over, tripping over things, you name it, not thinking about anything, and you just doing it, stuff like that. So I think it's quite dismissive. That's the term I'm after, dismissive, I suppose. But I can see why they say it in some ways, because when I was younger, I used to, like I say, struggle with my shoelaces. I still do. I hate laces. If I can help it, I try and keep with having Velcro or whatever, if it's possible, or just slip-ons, because they're easier. But I've struggled doing that. I've had coordination things like manual with buttons, say on t-shirts, or even my tie at school. That was a nightmare. I used to go around in primary school where, when you was at a certain age, instead of doing your tie up, I don't know if you had it at school, Luca, where you had to have like an elastic tie that you could put over your neck, and that was just about right. Like, I felt comfortable with that. But when the years were going on, they said to me, "We can't, you can't use an elastic tie anymore, because that's certain years. You got to have to be getting used to a manual tie."
Yeah.
And for me, that was just like, oh no. So things like that, again, like I used to trip over a lot when I was younger. I fell over my own feet because of the coordination with walking. When I was younger, I was delayed with my walking. I was delayed with my talking. I mean, it was ironic because, as my mum again says to me, because she has given me some insight so then it can give an understanding to others, which I won't necessarily remember. But the only thing I could do when I was younger was I could count to 100, fine, and I could count from 100 backwards, fine, but I couldn't say anything else. So my vocabulary was limited, so it can affect your speech as well, because I was under speech and language for a number of years to help with that. So dyspraxia has a lot of leaves on the tree that it can affect in so many ways. And unfortunately, because it's lifelong, the older you get, the more you learn to adapt with condition, and what is right for you. I mean, if there's things that you just physically can't do, then you just can't do them, if you like. No matter how much you try and do them, it just doesn't pay off. And I think the situation with that is, I had an experience in sixth form. Well, I say sixth form college, primary school and sixth form college. So primary school, it was very difficult because I had one teacher there that was fantastic, that really understood what dyspraxia was. The other teachers, as such, all right, one other maybe was fine, but the rest just didn't understand it whatsoever. And it came to my final year in primary school where it was so difficult for me, and I'm going to use this as a trigger warning so you guys know, because it does get quite heavy, I suppose, in that respect. But the teacher didn't understand me at all, but he used to bully me for it. And he used to, so when we was doing rounders, instead of catching the ball, because I still couldn't catch the ball then, which is another coordination element, he used to sarcastically applaud in front of my class, saying, "Oh, well done, Jordan, you still can't catch a ball when everybody else can." So he used to single me out. Art homework as well, where I couldn't do it. Mum was with me trying to guide me hand with a pencil or whatever. I couldn't do it. And he looked at the letter that my mum wrote into him saying I couldn't complete the homework. And he looked at it, and he read it out in front of the class, started laughing, and then crunched the piece of paper up and threw it behind his head into the bin and said, "How pathetic, you're pulling mummy by the apron strings." You know? So that age, when you're trying to find your feet going into your first year of senior school, it made me feel so psychologically traumatized where I wasn't being listened to. And there was just no understanding. There was no compassion, if you like, with him. Every day it was just torture. And it gone into sixth form where, obviously, my last year doing for GCSEs at senior school, I couldn't do this particular part in the maths exam, which was the shape and space unit, because you have to rely on a pencil but also a ruler. So when, obviously, I used to draw a line when it came to papers and everything like that, literally the paper was moving when I was trying to place a ruler on there because it was going everywhere. I couldn't coordinate it and it was horrible. And in the end, I was failing by 2 or 3 marks each time on my C grade for maths because I couldn't do that bit for paper. And it came in sixth form when I had to resit and everything, where I was going through the same papers over and over again, being reset for every single paper. And every time it came to that last paper, which was for shape and space, but again, it was 2 or 3 marks each time I kept missing out on C grade because of that one unit. And it was getting me so down, Luca, that I was thinking, like, everyone's putting time and effort in for me, like my tutors, I had support tutors to help me. They did everything they could, but I still couldn't do it. And there was even at one point where the tutors was like, because I was put in a separate room for a quieter environment, I was asked at one point, could the tutor hold the ruler for me on the piece of paper so then I could do the line or whatever. That was refused. Why? Because they labelled it as an unfair advantage. And you think, well, I still could have got that answer wrong. They're just placing the ruler for me. So what is it to say? So there for certain things with dyspraxia that has really limited me in my life, I suppose. But it really impacted me again in my younger years, because the older you get, of course, then it makes you feel more unstable emotionally, more depressed.
I can understand that, with a huge background in terms of working with additional needs and those with disability, having seen it and been around those environments of what are good teachers and those where, I feel they haven't sort of moved on with the times as such. It's just been unfortunate that this teacher has been in your life and it's given you that experience, which is very unfortunate. And, I can recall one teacher from primary school, and when I still see him now, I just feel with rage because of the type of person he was when I was, a little kid sat in the classroom and he's screaming at me full on, and this is a grown man, and realistically that's bullying within itself, that's intimidation. How does that feel when a full grown man is shouting at a kid who's so small and got no one around him to protect him? If that's not allowed in the street, imagine if that started happening from a random adult to a kid. You're going to see parents and adults jump in, so why is it allowed in the classroom? So it's just unfortunate that you've had that experience, but it's, again, so open and honest. It just shows what those with disability and additional needs go through and how that can impact them psychologically, and that trauma, as you mentioned, which still lives on at the age of 25 and you can still remember quite strongly. But, you've got dyspraxia, you have it, you've gone into coaching. And when you went into coaching, how did you find that when it came down to, putting out the cones or setting up? Was you quite supportive in terms of having the coaches around you? Did you feel that you were limited, whereby if you struggled to put the cones down, etc., you felt frustrated? How did you sort of manage that?
So, again, I think it led on to with my level 2, really, when I was exploring it a bit more. I mean, when I was with the school, obviously I had like other teachers around me to start with, because or teaching assistants, should I say, around me, so that it was in a sense that if there was something I couldn't control, if there was a disruptive student, say, then they'll deal with it for me. So I didn't have to deal with it as such. But other bits and pieces like that, I mean, we're setting up, like you say, with cones or so forth, and I was getting frustrated. I had support there if I needed it. But for more times I was doing it, for more confident I was getting, if that makes sense. It was becoming then some sort of routine. So it was like during that lunchtime, I used to do like say a 5-minute warm up. It was the same, pretty much the same warm up each lunchtime, but it gave them, the students, if you like, the same sort of routine that they was getting used to, and it was getting drummed into them. And there might have been once or twice that they used to say, oh, this again, like, say, yeah, sorry, like, you know, but I tried to then go away from that, take what they said, and adjust it to try and make it more engaging, more interactive, more fun and fulfilling for them. And yeah, I learned a lot from that. But from for level 2 as well, it was like, because you learn a lot more in for level 2, or for UEFA C now, isn't it? For UEFA C license. And like, I remember that there was an activity I had to put on for the group, and it was like a bit of rondo, but with progressions in it. And because it was my first experience of doing something like that to that degree, I felt quite overwhelmed as such. But again, the tutor was fantastic, because he said, let's do that again, but just say further down for a week. But when we get time, when it's our lunch break, we'll sit with each other, we'll have a chat, and I'll break down some instructions for you just to remember, you know, and highlight the key points. And then if you remember the key points to that rondo, like for communication, for creating for space and so forth, then that will stick in your mind, and then you can just work around that, you know. It's about a bit of improvisation, really, isn't it? You know, you try and think on top of what you're trying to achieve with the group. So that really helped. And then it gone into the first, when I say proper coaching I did, was with Ivory, my grassroots club that I had. And we'll go on to that journey soon, but I was pretty much on my own through that journey. But then, because there was people that I knew either from when I was at school or college originally, it was a group of people that I knew, but they knew me. So if I struggled with certain things like saying set up or whatever, or anything like that, they was there to help on hand with me. So it wasn't like I was completely on my own, and that really helps boost my confidence.
And you know, some people might be listening and they might be shocked in terms of that rejection you had as a child when you were younger, having dyspraxia and being turned away from teams. And I hope they have shock when they've heard that and had you listening. But it doesn't shock me in terms of the attitude in those times where we've been in Britain, because we still see some of it now. But being a kid myself and being in and around and where the game was when we were younger, that isn't sort of a shock for us to sort of hear that. And it's such a shame to say that within itself. But when you had those rejections, obviously as a young kid, it's so tough. And, you know, especially when you got a big heart for the game and you want to play, you just want to, you know, be on the pitch with everyone else. But do you think those attitudes towards, you know, that rejection and saying you can't be part of the team have changed in terms of coaching and how teams allow players to join or welcome players to join?
Yeah, I think this is it. I think there's more inclusivity now. I mean, for myself, you know, I can't say for other teams and other clubs, because they have their own agenda, if you like, on what they want to include and stuff in their clubs and stuff, which is fine. But it's like for myself, so when it comes to wherever I've been, whatever coaching, whether that be Ivory, Chelmsford, Dunmo, whatever, you know, all them different situations, it's like I try and include as many as possible to give them that chance. Because if they are given that chance and they feel that they're able to play and they really want to be able to express themselves, everybody's got a spark somewhere. Everyone's got a creativity side to them, one way or another. So if it's something that they really enjoy, I find that they're going to flourish in that more. So you want to be able to give them that opportunity to have that freedom, that chance to express themselves. And it's about giving them a chance, because I don't want people to go through that situation where, like I was when I had to miss out on everything, because they felt that they couldn't do so because they wasn't given the opportunities to do so. I mean, it came to this young lad that I had previously, where I'm really good friends with his family now. Like, we've become really good friends. But it came about that when we was doing the lunchtime, there was this one student. He was just phenomenal, if you like. So gifted in a sense that if he had the ball at his feet, he just could take on players with confidence. He was looking up, passing off, linking up, just everything about his game was superb, if you like. And it came to that he finished senior school, gone into college. I bet he was doing college there. And obviously we had to report back to the teachers, and then they fed back to his parents, and we communicated as well on his progress. And he just joined college, and obviously got in contact with his parents and said, he's so talented. Can we, I'm thinking of this with Ivory. We're looking to do 7-a-side. I know it's a smaller format, but how would he feel about this? I know he's got his additional needs and stuff, but do you feel that he would, crumble under pressure somewhat, or do you feel that he would flourish? What do you feel? And she said to me, his mum, well, you can see what it's like and give it a go if you like, and if he just doesn't like it, then we're sorry, but, and I said, no, that's fine, Then for the end, he was coming to, because even at 7-a-side, I was trying to do a training session a week, so it might have been an hour a week, but it was just to give them boys that routine, that they had something to do. And this lad, he was even having confidence to take on lads that was a bit older than him and everything like that, and you just thought, blimey, he has got something here, he's showing that and flourishing, if you like, in what he's doing. And we was going through for 7-a-side seasons, and yeah, I know you score more goals at that format anyway, I appreciate that. But it came to that final 7-a-side season where I think it was in 28 games or whatever, 28 games for the club at 7-a-side, ended up scoring 40 odd goals. And you think, for someone that was there not mixing with anyone else in his year at school, then seeing the progression go upwards and his football development taking over, he wasn't one, even when it was group with football, he wasn't talking much, but he just got on and knuckled down. And he's so, after the training session, that 1 hour a week, he used to come to me and say, can we have an extra 10 minutes to practice on my finishing? Can we do an extra 10 minutes to do a bit of extra work here or there? So, yeah, sure, if you want to, and it's okay with your parents and so forth. And that's what we agreed. And he was just phenomenal. His attitude, his drive was out of this world. And I'm so pleased that at such a young age, going 17 then into 18, we then took the chance of him taking part in an 11-side event but it was a charity event, but it was still, a big moment for Ivory in the transition. But I'll talk to you about that soon and what he did on that day, Luca. But it was just phenomenal, to see someone really, really progress from where they first started,
Absolutely, and it's great to hear that story, and it's great to hear that they've had that progression and where they're at, and that impact that you had with them, as well as that opportunity whereby you could support them and it allowed them to progress by scoring 40 goals per year. Whereas something, if that rejection had happened to them, or they were continuously pushed away, then they would never have had that opportunity to do so. So they probably look back fondly at those memories, and they don't have trauma, whereas you've got trauma. They might have in other experiences, but in terms of of, you can reflect on trauma, they can look at that and go, do you know what, Jordan had an impact on my life, or I had this great opportunity, or I enjoyed doing that, and they can look back on those moments with fondness. And even though those who might have trauma, how much of a positive experience can we fulfill them with to try and overcome trauma as much as we can and support that? But you've gone through such a journey yourself. You've your parents are split up at a young age. You've gone through rejection because of your disability and additional need. You've been impacted in school. You've hit COVID. You've had health, which you're going to talk about even further. So for you to go through all of that and what you've ended up coming out with, to see you still here and to what you're doing and now sharing your story, and this isn't the end product of Jordan Stringer that we're going to see, and this doesn't stop him in where he's going, but for you to go through all of that and to share your story is exactly why you're on the podcast, and exactly why I want to help you and help what your program is, this public speaking which you're going to be doing. And already in the back of my mind I've got a few people which I can link you up with, and I'm going to drop you a message after. But just to share your story and what you're going through, I think just is so surreal and something which I wanted to share, because only half hour of speaking and it's just been so open and honest. But it's such one which I feel that so many should and have to listen to, because of the impact not only to yourselves but those with disability, those with additional needs, those with health scare, how the game looks, coaches, and that wider spectrum where there's so many individuals who don't have that voice. How can we put that forward to support them even further? So for you to still come out battling, it's, you deserve all the medals on your chest, mate.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I think it's where, though I was really scarred by that teacher in the last year of infant school, I've always, when I was younger, I was always able to talk to adults more than I was peers of my own age at the time. But I found it quite interesting. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it struck me when, I think it was in GCSE, and it was one of my teachers, and he was a bit stressed out, if you like, but he was taking it out of class. But when I asked him a question once, he was like, "Oh, really?" But I knew that wasn't him, if you like. But it was somebody else, because I saw my form tutor later that day. I said, "Oh, he's had to, he was like this and so forth." Not that I was trying to cross up or anything, but it just, given past experience, it just unsettled me a bit. And she said, "I'm going to tell you now, Jordan, I understand what you're saying. But remember, obviously they're an adult and everything, but remember they've probably had a horrendous last 24 hours or something. You don't know what goes on behind the surfaces of other people's lives and everything like that. They might have had to deal with something that, not that it is this, but it could have been a breakup, it could have been something else, it could have been a death or something like that within their family. But it's just come out with pain and anguish, but in their voice. But it's come out for and wide, So just remember that everyone goes through, and they're just adult end of the day, Everyone's their own person, everyone has their own feelings, but sometimes they don't mean to come across the way they do." And as soon as she said that stuck in my brain, because I think if someone's been short to me, even when I've had it in for medical help profession, where they've come at me but wow, shit, hold on. And I just realised, I think, okay, maybe they've just had they've had a bad day. Maybe they've had other stresses. Maybe they've had referrals that they've meant to have done, but they've not been able to get them done for one reason or another, which is helping that patient. Or their daughter's not well, or their son's not well. I don't know. There's endless possibilities that it could be, but yeah, it's just stuck in with my mind on that, Luca. And I suppose it's made me see a different light to the north negative light, if that makes sense as well.
And that's a good thing in terms of that perspective that you talk about, and understanding, someone might be going through a difficult day, or, that perception where we don't know what goes on behind the closed lives and those services, etc., which is really important to consider. And that can be considered in terms of, coming across and how you may have come across at times because of what you went through. And, unless some people actually see what you're going through day to day and, as you're going to share what that, may have looked like or been in that experience, some people be like, oh, why is Jordan like this? And, perhaps you've had an awful night or awful day before, or, you've been hit even further by, other news, etc. And that can be hard because some people don't comprehend that, or they don't have that surface level thinking whereby, right, this is the surface, can I actually dig deeper to understand why? And they just take that off the surface and that's what it is. So, I think that's a really important point in itself. But you've got a very interesting story, and it's in a way a shame to call it interesting because of how harrowing it is for you and what you've gone through. And I can only sort of imagine what you've gone through from knowing other people in the family who have gone through it. But you've got a PowerPoint which you said, and I'm happy for you to share that whenever you're ready and want to, if you still want to, Jordan. So the floor is yours, and wherever you want to go in this direction now, it's entirely over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's it. Is I think through that with the infant school, I mean, with the presentation, I've got through for years and everything like that, but I'm just going to try and find some significant things because I've got like a script, I'm going to say a script, just to remind me of the different bits and pieces. But I mean, like I've got roles that I've learned for doing coaching over the years. So like I've learned how to build a rapport and trust over time, to work with people, to give them that opportunity to flourish. If you give them that chance to flourish, if they've not been given it elsewhere, then they'll often repay you in that sense. You've got to be a good listener. Sometimes people like playing football to distract themselves, and it can even be, to get them out of trouble, like from the outside world, like such, because I learned that within doing a few months that I did with QPR Community Trust. When I was doing community coaching with them, it was incredible, because you see different areas, and I suppose for deprived areas where there's kids that come to you and they just want to play, or they just want to be heard, and they don't have that opportunity at home, I suppose. So they can trust in you to talk about what's going on. And obviously you've got to speak to family and everything like that, but it's more than just being a coach, if you like. A coach has so many different roles and responsibilities that come with it. And I think that's why I've enjoyed doing it, because of the different things that you can provide. So it's like with being an advisor, what is right for the individual, whether that's to build them up or gradually throwing them in the deep end. Again, I find that from more that I've found is over the years is that someone that, again, if that they're not able to speak up for themselves, put it that way, if you throw them in the deep end, more times than enough I've found at the moment, and I hope this continues because it's not a nice feeling, but throwing them in the deep end is the best reward that you can get, because they might feel agitated and they're anxious beforehand, but when they've done it, they come out and they say, oh, I'm so glad I've done that, and that puts a smile on your face, because you feel it's been worthwhile. You've got to be a role model, of course, but it's not just a role model for kids, you've got to be a role model for adults too. I mean, if you're out on that sideline and you're barking out orders, then, if you're effing and blinding at the referee, then that's going to rub off on your team, isn't it? I think it's very, you're the point figure, I suppose, of running a team, so you've got to give respect where possible. Depending on making a difference, so if you're given an opportunity, you've got the opportunity to make your own stamp. And that's what we were saying about earlier. If you create your own philosophy, your own little idea on things, whether that's playing, whether that's coaching, with anything that you do in life, you've got different ideas to what somebody else might have. But that's a good thing, because they might not have thought of that, and then it can build into one big picture. But yeah, football's helped me because it's given me that release. It's given me that independence, I suppose, to try and nurture on that and to build and find others that are probably that have gone down the same slope or same route. Is to prove a point though as well, like, you know, because I feel that I want to prove a point to like that teacher that was horrible, or people or doubters that have said to me, like I did in the past, oh, you're shit, like, you know, and everything like that. And I'm like, well, let's see what the end result is, pun for pun, you know, because if we're achieving and going in the right direction, then it's only way up, like, you know. Because lower like for physical, when I say when it comes to physical and for technical coaching, with doing for rondo, doing for rondo and doing, you know, activities on passing or creating space, you name it, all them technical gifts, if you like. I just as enjoy the mentoring side as much, because you're getting to have that, you know, group togetherness, or you're going to get that one individual saying, you can make a difference today. And you know you got it in your locker, go and do it, because I believe in you. And then words of, I believe in you, is so powerful, because that can really make someone's day. And if they're really built on that, they can then go, hopefully, again in an upward trajectory where it's on a peak and their confidence is just flying off the wall then, you know? And yeah, I just like saying them words because I know how good it can make you feel. And I'm sure you feel that as well, don't you?
I completely agree, and even as you've just seen it there is one young person which springs to mind that I get to work with and teach most days, and where I work is in a behaviour unit, so sometimes the kids are referred into me, etc. And this is a young person who's quite regular in there, and you know that's no portrayal of who she is and whatnot. But there is one thing she always says, "Sir, when I'm in here, all you do is lecture me." I'm like, when you're older, you will remember me lecturing you, and you will remember me having these conversations. And you will also remember those who didn't lecture you. And when I got those words harrowing in your mind, that's exactly what I want. And this is the reason why I give you a lecture, because every time you're in here, I want to make the impact. I want you to go out and support. I want you to realise that you're more than the referrals into this behaviour unit. You're more than every time you get into trouble. And I can see how much of a good student you are. So you're getting into trouble for X, Y, and Z. And, you know, portrayal on paper, right, this young person's got so many negatives. They've got, you know, X, Y, and Z in terms of behaviour. They're referred into the behaviour unit constantly, and that's not real portrayal of who she really is. And so when it comes down to that, and I'm like, right, I believe in you. I want you to go far. I want you to, you know, remember the experience at the end of year 11, whereby, do you know what, I actually spent time in that behaviour unit, but it wasn't, you know, to be seen as, right, you're in here, you sit in your desk, you sit in your booth in silence. Sir actually worked with us, Sir spoke to us, Sir gave us the opportunity, Sir included us, and when she's in the behaviour unit, her work is better than when she's in the mainstream. So, you know, that just shows the impact that she has. But the point there is that all those lectures that I give to her, and just by saying something to her, she's going, Sir, you lecture me all the time. That's her remembering that I am going to say things to her, and it is sinking in and it is building. So sometimes you may think that it's not going to, but if you continuously repeat that message and you're hammering it home, it's going to get through.
Yeah, absolutely that. I agree. And I think with coaching as well, and that's what I say my motto with coaching is it is life, because they run so parallel. You can take what you can take from life, you can put into football, and what you can put from football, you can take it into life, like with teamwork skills and so forth. And I think that's where it's very powerful. I mean, as I always say, it's my duty, if you like, or my job is to make the best version out of you. You know, to find you in a nutshell, really, for the best in you. Don't worry about the past and everything like that. We're now working on you in the present. And it's helping you become a winner, not just on the pitch, but off it as well. Because if you can become a winner in life, then you really are winning. Because life can be so, again, like a roller coaster, that, you know, ups, downs, twists, turns. Again, if you can cope with things, then you're marvellous, put it that way, because life can be quite difficult. So that's what I always say as my motto in life, is to make your winner in life and in football.
I love that, and I think that's such a great motto and something to take away and to have every day. And it's a good position to try and put yourself in and to try and get there. And everyone has a different journey and how they can define winning and what it could be. And when it comes down to winning, then Jordan, what would you define as winning where you're at in life now, or where you'd like to be winning at?
I think in life, again, they say, I don't know if all of them, but it's like if you get up in the morning, got a smile on your face, and you're even able to eat something small, even if it's just a breakfast bar, you're up, you're about, you're seeing what's about, taking on the day. And whatever comes at you, it's about having to cope with it, having to adjust with it. So if someone comes to you and says, for example, this hasn't been done, like with just say, I'm not saying it's registration, but if the registration hasn't been done, okay, registration hasn't been done, fine, let's try not to stress about it. It will be done, let's go again, that will be done for next time, don't think of the worst conclusion straight away. I think that's what we seem to do as personnel, like as a human being. We tend to think of the negative straight away as opposed to positive, because we always think probably of what's that person going to think, or I've let myself down, or anything like that, So if you can just try and think of a positive instead when you wake up and you get told something that's a bit challenging, just think, okay, it's not end of the world. There's 365 days in most years, apart from a leap year. The next day's going to be better, And the more you say that to yourself, the more it gets tuned in. And that's the same with football, I suppose, because if you have if you have a team that has a bad performance, I'll give an example. There was one time that when we was with Chelsea, we lost quite heavy. I think it was like 6-0 or something like that. And the players obviously were dejected. And I was just about to say a message, and one of the players said to me, well, why aren't you getting angry? Because you should show some emotion like that if you've just lost like that. And I said, okay, look, we lost 6-0. Whatever it was. Not great. It's not great. Fine. But what are we going to do about it? Does that mean we've got to train harder? Does that mean we've got to have better things in our life, like for ourselves? Does that mean we've got to eat better? Does that mean we've got to sleep better? Does that mean with gaming, do we have to do less time with gaming? All them different things in our life. What can we do about it to make sure that we don't get in this situation again? And then you try and use it as an open discussion for hopefully when people come to the party and say, okay, yeah, I'll do this differently, or I'll do that differently. And because I'm not one of them that says, oh, that's effing shit, what do you think you're doing, in their faces? Because I don't think that's a way of getting your message across, if you know what I mean. Unless you've got really fired up expectations, I suppose, in football. If you've been told, right, you need to go and win the league, for example, because there's more pressure on you, then the pressure does come out. But you've got to keep it in a relatively resolute way and a productive way of, okay, this is one game. Just say it was game 4 of the season. We've still got another 20 odd games or so to go in the season. Let's go for week 5. If we come away, just say we lost 6-0 this week, even if we lost 2-0 for next week, I'd say, okay, that's an improvement from where we was last week, because it's showing it's going on a downward trajectory of scoreline, but also an upwards in terms of our progression, So it's just finding ways,
and that's it as well. And that's finding ways of what works and how you can result in terms of how you'd like the perspective to be, or the way that you come across, or what winning is and how that is one way that you're going to figure out and work as you go through life in itself as well. But you've got all these messages, you've got these areas which you're really focusing upon. You've got these outcomes which you'd like to see and push forward and support young people and support other people on this journey. But you've launched Public Speaking with Jordan Stringer. It's here for a purpose. It's here to share this story, as we've heard so far. But what else? What led you to starting up the public speaking, and what else are you going to be sharing behind it with those out there?
Yeah, so of course, obviously, all football side of things are great, but there has been some adversity as well. Where so at the age of, it's really started, I suppose, when I was at the age of 11, maybe going on 12 actually, but even so, regardless, I was really not well, and I was struggling, and it's the first time I'm really talking about this, I suppose, openly and publicly. But I had pain down below. I was really concerned, because I went for a bike ride with my mum, my mum's partner at the time, my brother. Come back from there, I was in just so much agony after that. But I thought none for wiser of it. It came to a few days later, and I said to my mum, I'm still not right. And she said, okay, well, let's go to the doctors. Went to the doctors, he said, right, I need you to refer you for an urgent ultrasound. So I went for this urgent ultrasound. When it came around, got the results back, and I was told, bearing in mind I was very young then, they said to me, Jordan, I'm certain you've got cancer. I was like, what? And obviously at that age, you know what cancer is, but again, you thought of the negative side, because obviously when you're that age, you know what it is, but the worst case situation in my head that was going around so much was, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I didn't think of, treatment and so forth. And then it came to about a few days after that, I saw my GP and he went, well, I've looked at the results, what they've said, it's not cancer. So I was like, what? I've been told that I have got it and then I haven't got it. So what is it? And he said, well, you haven't got it, but it is markers for it, so we need to keep an eye on it for the near future. So at the age of 21, to cut a long story short, I was up at London having an appointment, saw a consultant, he did an examination. And bearing in mind previously, I was being seen yearly, nothing come back. Saw this consultant in London, he did an examination, he said to me, Jordan, I am concerned. We need you to have an ultrasound, but I can't get you in to see me again for another 6 months. So I was like, oh, right. So it mustn't be that serious then if you want to see me again in 6 months' time, like. And on the train home, I don't remember too much, but I was on the train back home, and Mum just said to me, I literally just backed out on the train. I wasn't with it at all. And she knew I wasn't well, obviously, from blacking out, and then I was brought to and so forth. Gone back home, and Mum said, this isn't good, we need to get to the bottom of this, because this just something's not right. So I went to see my GP as an urgent appointment the following day, which was lucky, really, considering the circumstances of GP practices and everything. And he said, yeah, I think we need you to have an ultrasound, which what your consultant said in London, but we'll try and get it as urgent as we can, but up here, how does that sound? Bearing in mind this was only, 5 months after moving into this new area where I am now. And I said, okay, well, that'd be great. And he was a Swedish fella, but so kind, would do absolutely anything for you. And I got a phone call the next day saying, oh, can you come in this afternoon for an ultrasound? I said, yeah, that's fine. But I was also having chest pain at the time. So I thought, okay. Well, I got there that afternoon, Luca, and it was, again, harrowing, because I saw the sonographer. I said, right, I was just about to take my top off. I said, right, you're scanning my chest, aren't you? No, not scanning your chest, checking down below. Oh, okay. If you feel, I don't think there's going to be anything there, but okay. Anyway, checked down below, and he was going over on the scan, and he was just like, I think I found the answer to your problem, Jordan. I said, yeah. He said, I'm 90% sure I think I found a tumour. And it was just words, just blunt as that, but I found a tumour. I said, that's, and obviously, when you hear that, you know what it is, but you still are like, what? And I said, but that's a cancer, isn't it? And he said, I'm fairly 90% sure it's, yeah, a cancerous tumour. So I was like, so all these years that I've been going on, and now it's finally come to fruition, if you like. And I was just I suppose I was overwhelmed. And he said, just wait there for a minute and, just calm down. And, I had to get a few tissues because obviously I was really upset and that. And he said, is there anyone outside waiting for you? And I went, yeah, my granddad. He said, okay, go and speak to your granddad and then I'll speak to him if you want as well. So he spoke to my granddad and showed my granddad the scan, literally, of where he felt it was and everything. And my granddad doesn't say much, I'll be honest. He's not one of them that says a lot about anything. But he came out and you could tell his face was like that, like a picture, and like stunned. And he said, I can't believe it. I said, no, I can't believe it. But we was in disbelief. I said to him, at first I said to him, well, I got told I had cancer when I was 11. I don't think I got it now, And he said, Jordan, you do realise I think you do. And I said, no, I can't, So, well, let's see what they say. Anyway, I was on my way home with him. My mum was at work that day, my nan was at home. And I was just stewing thoughts in my mind, and then it came to a halt that I thought, shit. And they said, what? I went, I've got training tonight. I've got football training tonight, and I've just been told this. Oh, no, getting in a fluster. And he went, it's okay, don't worry. We'll take you there if you want to go there, just to distract your mind or whatever. And I had a fellow called Kevin working with me then, and a lady called Tash. So, yeah, I thought, well, I'll go there anyway. Anyway, got home, told my nan. She was shocked, because obviously going through all them years, all clear and everything. And then my mum, and she said, do you want to phone your mum? I said, well, she's at work and she's like 40-minute drive from here. I don't want to make her worried and she's got to make all this drive back, upset, And she said, yeah, but she can't wait, if you know what I mean. You've got to tell her. And I said, well, all right. So I phoned mum and she said no. And she said, like, she was on the phone, like, no. And then she started crying and everything like that. I can't believe it. No, not after all these years. And I said, yeah, I'm afraid. I think it's fairly certain I have, Mum. Anyway, she come home, obviously gave me a big hug, and she said, we'll sort this out. All right. So I said, I've got training tonight. She said, I'll take you to training. So I went to training, and boys were doing their warm-up at Chelmsford, and this was in the under-17 season. And there was Kevin and Tash with me, and they went, you all right, Jordan? No, yeah, I'm okay. You seem a bit more quiet than usual. Yeah, I'm okay. No, you're not all right. What's up? And then it just came out that, yeah, I think I've got cancer. And then literally as soon as I started to say that, couldn't picture it, Luke. It was surreal. This blizzard started of snow. Like, it was snowing so heavy. And I thought, I don't believe this day. What sort of is this, And yeah, I just wrote down and they said, okay, don't worry, and everything like that. Anyway, a day later, my GP phoned up and said, "Seen your report, and we've looked at it. Yeah, we're fairly sure it's cancer, so you've got to have an operation as soon as possible, and when they can fit you in, they'll be in touch." But I couldn't wait any longer. I had to go over for that weekend, and saw a consultant, and he looked at some notes, and he said, "Has it been told to you that you have cancer?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Okay, I just wanted to make sure." And I was 21 then, and it's like it was gut wrenching. It really was gut wrenching. So my message is in a sense of that, though when I say in remission, I'm all clear on that now, which is good. I'm still being checked, which is good. But my message to you is for young males, I suppose, or males in general, get checked. You know, if you're not sure, please, 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 you know, don't put it off or anything like that. There's guides online that can give you some self-help techniques anyway, of what to check for, what's right, what's not right. If you're still not sure yourself, if you can see a doctor when it's possible, I know that they're under strain at the moment with the NHS, but try and book an appointment to see a doctor as soon as you can. Because as it's been said to me recently, if I wasn't to have that removal done there and then, literally now, I wouldn't be here. So they did it as soon as they did. And that's really put life into perspective for me somewhat, you know.
And it's difficult as well because you're having that you're away from mum as it is in terms of that 40-minute drive, and she's not there to sort of have that experience, but to hear it over the phone and then being sort of disbelief as it is because of the answers that were heard previously, and then for all those years to pass, you were in a mindset and a position where you're like, this isn't going to happen, it's not going to happen. So mum was obviously like, no, 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 and then that's difficult for her as well. But obviously for your granddad just outside, we look at our grandparents and we're like, right, they've gone through life, they brought up our parents, and they later on in life you sort of want them to have a position where they're comfortable, they're settled, they're at a point in their life where it's relaxation time, and it's difficult because we don't want to burden or even come across at times of telling our grandparents the bad news or what comes across, etc. And it's not like you put it on them, but to go out and have to tell granddad, even positioning myself as you're saying that, it's not something that I would have wanted to have gone out and told my granddad, for example, because it is so heart-wrenching for them to endure and see someone so close and someone in their family go through what could be the worst experience in their life. Because, as they say, at that point, it's got to be treatable or they have to do something, but you don't know whether it's going to be the worst of the worst and, life comes to a halt and finishes. And for them to go, do you know what? Our position as grandparents is obviously to try and outlive the grandkids and the mums and so on, as part of life. But for them, they're going, do you know what? My grandchild here could finish their life before me. And for them to have sort of maybe those thoughts which they went through is such a difficult position for them. But it's great that you had your granddad and you've got your family around you and they were supportive and they were like, yeah, ring mum, and you still went to training and mum drove you there, for example. It's that support because they wanted to make you familiar with what you had, and it was such a. It must be so heart-wrenching to be told and then confirmed, especially after years of waiting as well, of what that could be and ended up being.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at that age, you don't realise how, when I say complex things can be, like, yeah, you can have surgery and you can have it removed, but then you get told of, like, further treatment if you need chemotherapy or radiotherapy. What do you need there? In terms of your fertility, will you become infertile? Aren't you? Are you going to be fertile while you're going to be infertile? All them sort of situations go around your head, and it was very, again, it was an eye-opening experience because this is going to sound critical, but it's going to be quite open, I suppose. With my local hospital, they did the operation and that, but they wasn't very forthcoming, where they couldn't give me any sort of support in terms of fertility. When I got referred to, if you like, it's again no filter and stuff, but I was told that I needed to store some sperm in case the cancer was to come back at any point, so I got some stored. But local services, they couldn't give that to me. They rejected me because they felt I didn't meet the criteria. I mean, I'm sorry, but what criteria do you have to meet then to be able to be accepted on that, to be able to do that, And all through that time, again, it was trauma again, because there was that to deal with. There was consultants that were coming to me saying, you should have chemotherapy. Others were saying I shouldn't have chemotherapy because I was so young, but others were saying to reduce the chances coming back. So no one came to some sort of conclusion what was right or wrong, So it all put my mind at unease, if you like. I was still having chest pain after the cancer was removed. And it only came to light literally 6 months after that. I was referred to a specialist through my GP. And I saw the specialist and he said to me, Jordan, I've looked at your scan results and you do realise that you've got fractured ribs. And I said, fractured ribs? He said, yeah. He said, now, with this is you need to take this up further because actually the type of cancer you had can cause that because it can break and make the bones fragile. And that's the same for your ribs. So I was like, oh, right, okay. Well, I didn't even know that, but okay, fair enough, And so I saw my specialist, and I think it was about a month after. I said, oh, I've been told it's fractured ribs and it could be through this with cancer. And she said, well, how do you feel? They shouldn't have said that to you. And I said, well, that's what I've been told. If you're part of the organisation, so surely you should be singing off the same hymn sheet, not discrepancies with one another. And she said, well, you didn't, just to confirm, you didn't bump into a door. And I said, come on, I wouldn't have fractured a couple of ribs by going into a door. Yes, I'm clumsy, I said, but I wouldn't do that. And she said, well, you didn't fall over? No. And then you didn't bump into someone else? No. So, and it was just like, really? And that's coming from your oncologist? It's like, it messed my mind up psychologically so much that I was going through all the different types of problems with the NHS one way or another. And I only managed to speak to a therapist that I had to get, again, privately, because no one was coming to me off the NHS saying, oh, we'll give you help or whatever. And I spoke to my therapist, and actually, she said to me, what has happened is you've been gaslit. It seems like you've been gaslit. And you're questioning your own authority, you're questioning your own reality and stuff like that, and how dare they do that to you, And I said, well, what do you mean? She explained it to me a bit more, because I was saying to me at one point, it's like with cancer, it's all in your head. I hate that saying, look, it's all in your head, because it can mean like you're crazy or, and I felt so, I suppose, stressed out with all that time that it's only come to another diagnosis that I've had confirmed in for the last 2 years that it's a problem with the brain where it's sending the wrong messages to the rest of my body, but it's causing other problems, so it's called FND, functional neurological disorder. It's like a software issue. You wouldn't see it on a scan, but it's like, imagine like your brain as like a computer. If it needs updating, if you don't update it, your brain, the computer will start to glitch, won't it? And that's what has happened to my brain, if you like. And again, I was getting told time and time again when I was getting distressing symptoms, it's all in your head, it's all in your head, my GP, it's all in your head, it's all in your head. And it's only come about in the last few months where he's come to me and said, because I've been referred to a specialist centre for it, Jordan, old man's up, I'm so sorry, I've got it so wrong. And for a doctor to actually say that, I'll give hands up, kudos to him, because not many people would do that in the sense of that field. But he has completely changed for me now, and he's doing anything that he can for me. But it was just like, again, it's like that disbelief, and I felt that throughout, so through school, with that teacher, with doctors, with other people that has been negative in my life, I felt like I've been muted, that I don't have a say and it's irrelevant.
And that can be really difficult as well because, you know, as you're supposed to be with the NHS or a health service, you're in a position whereby you should be receiving the best treatment and aftercare as well. And, you know, it should all be synergized whereby the therapist is agreeing with those who that you're seeing about those broken ribs, and it should be vice versa, because realistically, that's the position that he should be in, right? Yes, Jordan's gone through this. How can you support him as a therapist? We're going to put this in for him for operation or how to fix it. And it should be that walking forward line. But for you, it's sort of, you've had all these difficult moments and barriers which you've sort of had to jump over have come your way. You've gone through the worst of the worst. And then even after that, there are more barriers put in front of you and put in front of you by professionals who are supposed to be, you know, at the top of their game and supporting you. And that can only be really difficult in itself, because when you go through and you have cancer, which you've had, you sink the lowest psychologically and physically as well. And you go through the darkest times, you know, those late nights and those mornings and those days where you don't feel well and you're questioning where you're at and what you're doing, and all those other questions. And then you get through it, you come out of it, and then you're being questioned over your mental health and your mental state, maybe where you're at, maybe you're getting things wrong. And then you're in a sort of days in a circle whereby you're like, what is really happening to me? And you're just spinning out in the center, and you're not really finding that straight line which you should be on, because you're being questioned and pushed around, and it can be hard then to be at that position.
Absolutely, that. I mean, it has so many knock-on effects. I mean, there was one time that I put on some strong medication, and it was to help with my mental health at the time. But also with another problem that I had that medication helps. And I've gone to A&E because I was in a real low place. And again, you'd think, go to A&E, go to hospital, it should be a safe place. When I say I didn't feel safe, this was just when I was coming out of COVID for the first time. But the mental health nurse, I say in inverted commas, because again, this is going to sound critical, but I don't know what her purpose was for being there, because she called me in and she said, right, what can I do for you today? So I explained my situation and I was feeling low. Okay. So when are you seeing your GP next? I said, well, I think it was like Friday and it was Monday or whatever. Friday. Well, that's not too bad. That's quite okay, isn't it? You don't have too long to wait. I went, okay. She said, you do realise there's COVID in this hospital, don't you? You do realise there's COVID in this room where we are now. You probably do realise there's COVID on these seats. You do realise there's COVID on this, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, what the? Right, you know? And in the end, so she said, what can I do for you then? I said, well, I just needed someone to talk to and to, you know, and I need to have help coming off this medication because it's so strong that you can have side effects coming off of it. So I said, I was just trying to get some support coming off of this medication, Mike. And she went, well, all I hear you say is about this medication, this medication, this medication. And then she actually said, Luca, what do you want me to do? Send you to a mental health unit? I went, pardon? Right, you know, and it was just like, again, I didn't even say anything like that. I just needed someone to talk to. And it just was from one extreme to the other. And in the end, my mum said, because mum had to be with me just for my safeguarding, I suppose, because I was in a real bad place then. And mum said, might as well go, Jordan, let's go. So just as we're about to get up, she got up first. She opened up the door and she said, right, off you go, bye, see ya. And it's just like, what the hell? And she's meant to be a mental health nurse. You know, because she said, another thing she said to me, I've been in this capacity for 25 years and you're telling me my job. How dare you? I said, well, I never even said that, did I? You know? And it's just like them sort of people that have got my grinding gears, I suppose, that you think you're not seeing the full picture here. You know, and it's just like, again, we're saying about making most of being a winner in life, but in life, you come across some people that are not so helpful. And I've realised this now. Not everyone is helpful. You've just got to try and find a circle that is good for you. You know?
And I think that's an important point as well, and something that's been said previously on the podcast by someone else. So it's great that it's re-emphasising that message and that what comes out in terms of finding that circle and making sure it's right for you, but then make sure you have that support mechanism, that support, and something that you can turn to have those open and honest conversations. And when it comes back to that nurse, you know, I got 25 years of experience behind me. You can see those who got 25 years experience and those who have to say they got 25 years. And for those who show, it just shows how they've adapted, how they've moved forward, how they could welcome you in, have that kind of conversation. But when she said, oh, what do you want me to do for you then? When she's pitching that kind of question, as if you're inconveniencing her for the health issue and what you've gone through, and yet she then thinks, well, right, I've got to do more for him and do this. He should be completely fine because he's cleared now, he's fine. No, he's gone through trauma, he's gone through the worst experiences of life. He's still not in a mental place where he's feeling okay in himself. He's come to see you for specialist support. You've got 25 years experience behind him, and you're asking him that type of question, and then you're quite quickly shooing him out the door when he's decided to leave. For me, that infuriates me that you've gone through that sort of situation, and I'm only thinking of how I would have reacted in that situation, whereby I would have escalated that further, or I would have complained about her, because that is shocking treatment for anyone. But for someone who's gone through what you've gone through and then to come out on the other side to have very little to no support and to sort of be ushered out, is harrowing. And it just, again, showing how strong you are and these deserving medals which you should have on your chest, because, again, these barriers which have been placed in front of you, you've knocked them, and boom, they're being pushed off, you know, this sidecar, and you're still continuing to push through them. You know, you're a true champion to yourself, and it's been an open story in terms of where you're at, but not only from a young age to being a teenager, to then going in for an out school, to being a young adult, hit by COVID, going through cancer, coming out beyond that, and still where you're at and what you're going through. And now to be sharing your story, I think is just so open, and I hope, and it's a shame to say I hope that you can share your story because of the public speaking that you're trying to do and go out there, and to share what you've gone through and shared here today. And, you know, without giving away your entire public speaking and your entire platform and everything you're doing, but, you know, it's so open. I think anyone listening to this, I hope they listen to it with an open heart and open ears, because, you know, as I said, we've seen you gone through it on your socials, and, you know, to be having this kind of conversation to sort of re-emphasize what I've seen and now have this one-to-one with you, it just can only imagine what you would have gone through on those mornings, those late nights, those psychological barriers, those areas which you may have sunk to, and all the other questions which those who may be listening might have, and even consider as they're listening, is champion of Jordan Stringer and who he is.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I mean, that's it. I just want to help others and make them not feel so alone. Because I'm hoping, like, you know, that there's not people that have gone down any of the same path, but if they have, time does get better. I know that's cliche, but it does get better. And again, it's that circle. I mean, I'd like to share with you as well that coin story I was telling you about.
Of course.
So when I used to live in East London, so when I finished with work after school for lunchtimes or whatever, or I used to finish coaching Ivory during their training sessions or whatever, I used to go for a walk down High Street. Used to put my headphones in, forget about the world and what that session was, if it was stressful or not, you know. It was just nice to just be able to chill out. Anyway, when I was on my walks, quite often for case, I used to come across this homeless man. And I did feel sorry for him. Like, you know, I feel sorry for any homeless people anyway, one way or another, because they've got a story one way or another that they've had to go through. But this fella particularly, his name was Jeff. And there was times that I used to just drop by and just put any loose change in that I had so he could get a drink or whatever and everything like that. And he was always thankful, always said, "Thank you, young man, that's really kind of you." And I said, "No, it's fine, no worries, like, you know." But one day, Jeff was sitting down, and I just decided, I was thinking, but I'm going to sit down next to you, Jeff. You know? He said, "Yeah, okay." So I sat next to him and I said, "Right." I said, "Are you okay today, Jeff?" And he went, "I'm okay, could be better." And I said, "Come on, tell me what's up." He said, "Well," he said, "you see this pot that I've got here?" He said, "It's all loose change, but I've worked it out. It's like £5.50. He said, "Take that away with you if you want, and you can use it for waters for your players after training or something, because you've helped me so many times." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that, Jeff, but I can't take that. It's short. You know, you keep it for yourself, for your own need, like, you know." Mm-hmm. And he said, "No." Anyway, I said, "I'm just going to see what change I've got. Got a 2p coin out, right?" So I said, "Right, this 2p coin, Jeff, is you." And he was confused. He was like, "What?" Like, "What do you mean, young man?" So I said, "Well, this 2p is you, okay? So you go and resemble this now. So I'm going to try and roll it, right?" I said, "I'm trying to roll it, but you know when you try and roll a 2p, it's not straightforward. It just goes flat straight away first few times that you do it." I said, "That's you at the moment, okay? That 2p is you. You're stuck there. You're stuck in this place at this moment in time because you don't know where to turn, right?" So we tried rolling again, and it rolled, but it veered off to the left. So I said, "Okay, that 2p has veered off to the left, but what does this mean? Can you give me some insight what your thoughts and feelings are?" I said, "Not really." I said, "Okay, so this is you now. You're trying to make a new path for yourself, but you're veering off to the left, but you've still got the path behind you. So it still could come back to you in that respect, you know? So you're still trying to find your way, but you're getting there." So he said, "Okay." So we tried rolling it again, and actually it rolled quite freely then. I said, "See, that's going freely now. That's you. That's going to be you. You're going to be free one day, and you're going to have a new life, a new start, fresh start, and you won't be able to come back. That 2p won't be coming back. You won't be coming back to that past. So it's a chance for you to now move forward with your future and where you want to take it." So he said, "I quite like that." And then he just talked to me about his experience and everything like that. And he said, "I'm so glad, like, you know, you've been able to talk to me about it because no one else has given me the opportunity to do so." So I said, "It's all right, it's the least I can do." He said, "Go on, take that 550 because you've heard my story." I said, "No, Jeff, just keep it for yourself. Like, it's fine, honestly." And he said, "Okay, young man, no worries." Anyway, it came to about a month or so after and everything like that, that I saw him down High Street again. I said, "Oh, how's it going, Jeff?" And he said, "I've been thinking of what was said with that 2p coin. I've been trying to roll one that I've had just to give me that visualization of what you've said to me. And I've managed to speak to the council. They're going to try and look into a hostel and everything like that for me at some point to stay in." I said, "Well, that's a start, isn't it, Jeff?" I said, "That is a start for you." So he said, "Yeah, but I wouldn't have been able to have done it if it wasn't for you." I said, "But, you know, you just needed someone to talk to. You've probably not had that. So it's not a problem. Like, we're all here to help each other." Like, anyway, time had gone on and everything like that. And obviously I wasn't seeing him as frequent on like the street and that, down for High Street. And it was incredible, Luca, because I saw him one day and he was having a cup of coffee. And he said, "I'm so happy in a hostel now. And actually, I'm going to be starting very soon, hopefully, working for a local supermarket and do some work and have a bit of an earning." And I said, "Oh, well, that's fantastic, isn't it?" And now he's actually working in a nearby town in the local supermarket and he's living a purposeful life again. And it's just, you know, he's had some mental health support in the meantime as well. And it's just so great to see, like, you know. And he said, that 2p, he said, I use that every day, like, you know, just to give me thoughts and remember what we said. And it brings back with fond memories. And I said, that's nice to hear, Jeff, like, you know, well done. You're taking a big step. So, yeah.
And I suppose well done for you as well, Jordan, because he gets to live with that, and as you say, that impact in terms of what we say and what you can say, that still lives on with him, and he's able to reflect on just something as simple as a 2p, and recall that kind of conversation where he's at in life, and reflect upon you and what you were having in terms of that conversation to where he is now. I think just shows the importance of who you are, and not only shows who you are as a coach, but what you can do as a great person and who you are as a great person. But it's great that he's now living a sort of fulfilled life, and that he's doing well, and that you've been able to support him and be part of that sort of mantra of support, in terms of that network, just by having those conversations and seeing who he is. But that's such a great story to hear, and I'm glad that he's doing well, and that you've been able to impact someone else as well, which I'm sure that you will continue to have. But it's just such a nice story, and I'm glad that you shared it.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a nice story to share, because you just want, again, with people like that, you don't know what they're going through, and it just needs that one person, hopefully, just to make a difference and say, "What's going on?" Like Jeff, "What's going on, Jeff?" or "What's going on, Paul?" or whatever, because it gives them that chance to express, which, as feeling muted in the past, it's not pleasant, and you just need that one person to share with.
Absolutely. And we've covered so much in the last hour and a half that we've been speaking about, and as I said, not to give too much away, because I don't want to steal what the public speaking is, because some people could just tap into the podcast and boom, take away why would they want to book him. But the whole purpose of this is to hear your story, to share your story, but to support what you're doing with your public speaking, so people can listen to this and go, do you know what, it's such a good story, or not a good story, but something good to share as a story, to support those and get those listening, to help mental health, and for those not to be alone and to get checked out and support, so they can sort of tap into this and then get you out there and get you speaking and even project you further. So you've got public speaking, and is there anything you'd like to share around that, how they can get in touch with you, how that sort of format works, how socials, how they can get in touch, etc.?
Yeah, so I've got my own Facebook page that I've started up now. It's called Stringer's Story. God, no strings attached. That's it. So I had to get that in there. No strings attached. So yeah, there's a Facebook page on there. You can always message on there, which I'll share with you anyway, Lucas. So you can share it anyway, should you wish. There's also my email address, which you can get in contact with, which is jordanstringerpublicspeaking@gmail.com. So if you'd like to speak, even if it's just for yourself, to get some inspiration, or a group of you, or your business, your college, your school, your university, your football club, whatever, please feel free just to drop a message down, and I'll get back to you, and we can get something arranged. If it was that you wanted to get in touch with me through, like yourself, Luca, for example, I'm happy for you to give over that email address or even my phone number, which you've got. That's not a problem either.
Well, hopefully, you get a lot of people in touch with you, and can have that inspiration, and just have someone to speak to as well, because, as you said, there's nothing worse than feeling alone or being alone. And even if you are, and you're listening to this, or you've gone through something similar, just having someone which you can speak to can always be great. And that's one of the reasons which I wanted to reach out, because, it's so surreal, but, I wanted to touch base with you because of what you've been through as well, and just to be there to chat for you and support you in your next venture in terms of where you're going. But, I hope that, people get in touch and listen to your story, and it can expand even further. And as you're sort of developing this and you're moving this forward, and you say you are taking your time and you're going to make your own decisions, but do you have any sort of thoughts where you'd like to be in, 3 to 4 years' time, for example, or any thoughts about returning to football in any capacity?
Of course. So with I'm hoping to see where public speaking takes. I mean, to be honest with you, actually, for the next few weeks, I'm looking quite, when I say busy, might not be every day, which is fine, which is a blessing, I suppose, because it could be quite full on. But I've got some appointments booked. So I've got sixth form college up the road that wants me to do a talk for their football students. For doctor surgery, want me to do a talk for them for their CPD training once a month, which would be good. QPR within the Community Trust, I'm in talks with at the moment to see if we can get something organised. So all these different places, there's a lot of different people that have got in contact with that. So I'm hoping to look into that side of things, seeing where it takes off. But also with football, I'm hoping to return to coaching and management. Again, if it's all good, I am helping out with little bits at the moment with a club. It might not be for coaching as side of things at the moment, though it's up to me what I decide that I want to do. But again, as we said at the start of this conversation, Luca, it's just about the right time and when I know the right time, because I don't want to, because it's that commitment, that investment, a lot of hours put into it before and after and so forth. It's got to be the right time, but I think something's going to be in the right direction for that very soon.
Yeah.
And before you sign off, actually, I would like to share my last piece of advice with you, if that's okay as well.
Of course you can. Anything you'd like to share, I'm more than happy for you to, of course.
Thank you. So, again, I've got to practice this more. So, my advice to you and to everyone listening is make the most of every single living day. Be bold enough to take risks. If you have a career you want to pursue, go for it. You never know what could come from it. Learn from other people, create your own story, your own chapters. Don't let others dictate what you should and shouldn't do. Do things what bring the best version out of you in. Life is not a race, but equally do not stall and wait for things for you to come on plate. Work hard for it. Meet new people. Make the most of every single second. Love those close to you. It's important we go for everything we want in life. One life to live. Make our dreams, aspirations and hopes come true. No one can tell you what a successful life is. No one can tell you what a great life is. No one can tell you how to be happy. No one can, because you are unique. What success is for you may not be for another, or vice versa. What is a great life for another may not be so great for you. Life is a living. And as Ricky Gervais said in the Afterlife series, life is precious because you can't watch it again. But once you realise you're not going to be around forever, that's what makes life so magical. One day you'll eat your last meal, smell for the last flower for the last time, hug your friend for the last time. You may not know it's the last time. Don't worry about your past, worry about your future, because not only are you around forever, this is why you should do your love with passion.
I love that, and just even as I was listening to that, you get the thoughts and feelings of the depths that those words go to and what they actually mean, as well as life. So I hope that impacts and gets through the people the way that I sort of took that then. And you know, again, you don't know when your last opportunities are going to be, or those last moments. And another great quote from the US offices from Andy Bernard is, "I wish you knew you were in the good times before you left them." And I think that just shows, because you don't know when your last moment is going to be. So just make the most of every moment, because you don't know whether you're going to move out of the good times. But hopefully good times return for you, Jordan, in a capacity that you like them to be, so that you can define winning for yourself and where you're at. But for me, I think you are winning in terms of where you've come out and what you're doing and where you're going to go with it. And hopefully returning to football management as well. So, you know, it's horizons of coming. And, you know, you can start to see the sun rise beyond them. Because at times that's bleak and it doesn't always look like that, and there's lots of horizons to go through. But you know, it's an incredible story in where you're at. And as I said, I hope people get in touch and you can share it even further, because it's been so fascinating to sort of hear you speak, but to also understand where you've gone through from a young kid to where you're at now. And you know, thinking that it's just, you know, that cancer and that health scare. But there is so much more in that which people don't realise. And again, that's that surface level which you spoke about earlier. But, you know, I'll do as much sharing as I can for you, and will support you as much as I can. And as you said, you've got my number, so, you know, you can reach out to me anytime. And that's not just to do with the podcast. That's not just to do with your public speaking. But even if you just want to drop message and talk football or whatever, you can feel free to do that anytime.
Thank you.
That's right. No problems as well. And honestly, I mean it. So, you know, that's there. And, you know, we've got a great story to share, and I'll do as much as I can to share it. But as I do with all the guests, and I wouldn't want to leave you out for any reason, I do a quick Q&A with them at the end, or quick fire questions. So I'm going to throw some quick fire questions at you.
Oh, no pressure.
No problems at all. If you had to have someone describe you in 3 words, what 3 words would they be?
Motivated, hardworking, and caring.
Love them, love them. You returned the coaching. You've got the horizons in front of you. But if you could move to any country to coach, where would it be? Or you could stay in England.
Ooh. I've always wanted to explore the USA a bit more. But of course, I would like to see in England what there is about, and there's, world's your oyster, as they say.
Absolutely. You never know what might happen and where you might go as well. If you could spend a day with any coach or manager, who would it be?
Ooh. Can I say three names?
Of course you can.
So, and it can be past or present, can't it?
Yeah.
So Sir Alex Ferguson being one. Of course, just everything that he brought to the game. Just so successful with United, and just his way with his management and that. Number two, Pep Guardiola, again, just his knowledge of football and his style of football and everything like that is just phenomenal. And I'd love to learn how to even train like that, if you know what I mean, for your teams or whatever. So that'd be a good insight. And number three, I'm going to say Maurizio Pochettino. And the reason why I'm saying Maurizio as well, because of being a Spurs fan, he's probably my favourite Spurs manager. Supporting the club. However, when I was ill with cancer, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know it might go around with a couple of different supporters, but my friend got organised a letter for me that was sent from Poch himself. And it said on there, like, along the lines of, we've heard about your recent surgery and we're sending all our thoughts and prayers to you and wishing you a speedy recovery. And thanks for supporting the club, and it just, even that little personal touch, whatever was organised, it was just so poignant and just made me feel so humbled that my friend got that organised for me anyway. And yeah, just to learn off Poch, because he just seems such an easygoing guy. Like, you can have a bit of a laugh, and taking a lot of his styles,
I love that. I love what your friend has done, and I love that personal touch from Posh and Spurs at that time as well. And being a Chelsea fan myself, I'm a bit 50-50 on the fence of whether we're going to achieve with him or whether we're going to absolutely flop. But we'll see over the course of the season. I was a little bit worried when I started watching the Liverpool game on the weekend, how quickly we conceded. I was like, oh, is this supposed to be the start of the Pochettino era? But, hopefully, that moves forward for us, and it might be a good steal from Spurs in a certain capacity. But, again, it's that personality which he possesses, how he gets through that connection. And even as you've seen with that Dele Alli, for example, just saying that I'd like to work with him again or have the opportunity to do so, just again shows who he truly is as a person.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I think he just seems quite a warm, receptive. I mean, what he did with Dele Alli in terms of the peak of his development was just phenomenal. It shows his man management, because even Dele spoke about him in his interview, I think, with Gary Neville recently, didn't he? So
yeah, that's it. Yeah. And this might be the same it might be a little bit different, but who was or is your role model?
Oh. Then got a few, I suppose. Like, I look up to my mum a lot because of how she brought me up and everything like that, without my dad not being nearby. So she had the role of two to play, but seeing, having an upbringing that she struggled, but she really did feel better for her kids. So that's one role model. My teacher at school that I was telling you about, that John Morgan, that helped me get on that path to make me look into coaching. And yeah, with coaching, Pep or Sir Alex or Poch, any of them three really in that respect,
Yeah. If you had a magic wand to change the game in any way, what would you do with that magic wand?
I don't know if this would be possible, because it's probably not. But again, I suppose when it's when it happens with sackings of managers, I always find that quite when I say sensitive, I find it quite hard because, I appreciate that a club might be struggling, but if you sack them, just say you appointed them and then you sack them after 3-4 months because they wasn't how they turned out to be, for example, I think for me, I know you're working with them daily, but you've still not given them full chance to get all their ideas across. And I just think it's with coaches and managers, again, they have their own philosophies, their own stamps on things. And that's why I'd like for one change in that respect, because people should be given a bit more time.
Yeah. Agree completely. Who is your all-time favourite player?
All-time favourite player? This is going to sound, and there's going to be listeners that will probably, I can imagine this will go out and people say, really? But hear me out. I'm going to say probably, and it is going to be a bit biased, but Harry Kane in that respect. And it's not because of his just his football ability. But how I feel with H is that though he's done really well in his career, he's had that humble upbringing through the academy of Spurs and to where he is now at Bayern. But he's not flaunted his ego at all. He's not shown off. He's never had any bad press. You always hear good things about him. He's a family man, you know. He just seems like, when I say a normal human being, you know what I mean? Not like someone that shows an ego too much. And I think that's a really humble person to look up to in that respect. Again, like a role model, I suppose, because, you know, with that sort of money, I don't know, can that change people's ego on sort of things? It could do. But yeah, with H, probably up there. I mean, Messi and Ronaldo, of course, they're talents in abundance, but they'd be the obvious choices, if you know what I mean, in that respect for their talent. And don't get me wrong, you don't hear much about their press, really, I suppose, but it's just with H supporting Spurs and that, you know, seeing that background and that coming up through for youth and what he's brought to the game and for England as well.
I completely agree, and you know, just to be Spurs' all-time top goal scorer or something, I believe, and one of the top all-time Premier League goal scorers, you know, top goal scorer for England, and you know, be doing that at Spurs where he hasn't lifted the trophy. You know, across social media, from what people are saying is, oh, go out, bang 40 goals, get bored of winning Bundesligas. He's absolutely deserving to win, you know, some titles, and when he's retired, to have, you know, a couple of trophies where he can look in his house or whatever and go, do you know what, I actually won the league title with Bayern and I played for one of the biggest clubs in the world, and look at what I've done for Spurs and my loyalty is unwavered and I was so committed to them. Realistically, you have to go, right, he deserves to move on from Spurs and deserves to have some trophies, because otherwise all people will say at the end is you won nothing, so he can't win. So he either leaves and people will criticise him winning Bundesligas, or he stays and people criticise that he never left and never won anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with H, I mean, I was thinking in my mind, I mean, everyone sees it differently. I mean, like, we're not going to say big Spurs fan, but he says, like, with Levy, if he's going to get out of contract with somewhere, if he wants money to get for money, then the business makes sense. Which, I can see it on the business side. Yeah, I do get that. But for me, personally, for the amount of service he's given to Spurs, it would have been painful to have seen him leave on a free label, if you like. But for what he's given to Spurs, I wouldn't have criticised him or anything like that, you know? Yeah. Because of what he did for the club and that.
Absolutely. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Judgment, I suppose. Just in a sense of judging someone before knowing their whole situation, their story, I suppose. Because you can be critical of someone and then you don't know what they've gone through in their previous experiences, like, so maybe that's one thing. And I suppose another pet peeve, I'm just trying to think what it is no, just that freedom and that independence, I suppose, you know?
Yeah.
Just that, and everybody have that independence and that freedom.
What is your favourite thing to do in your downtime?
like to listen to music. Big music fan. I used to do some online DJing as well. When I was started for coaching and that was an interesting experience. And been on for radio a few times, which has been a good experience. So I enjoy them sort of things, anything to do with music.
That's cool. That's really cool. Who knows? You might become DJ Jordan Stringer. Who knows?
I was going to say public speaking to coaching to DJ all in one.
A full round circle, mate. I was speaking to one of my close friends, and he just started working with a coach that I used to work with in a company that we sort of support. And it's been a long time since I've seen this other coach, and he was a musician in high school. He then left to become a sports coach. He's become a sports masseuse at one point. He's been a youth worker, and now he's been a play worker as well. And now today he's doing like landscape gardening or something, because he said it'd be a good skill to add to his skill set. So he sort of had an all-rounded one. Coaches, I think, have the biggest background of experience and skill sets of anyone.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah.
But you could have your own music label. Who knows? What does reflection mean to you?
Gives you a chance to, just think on. It's important because you can learn a lot about yourself, and you can learn about others in that respect. So what they need to, what you need to do to improve, like yourself or others, or just it's a very important tool. Because you can't if you don't learn from your mistakes, then the same mistakes are going to keep on happening, put it that way.
Absolutely. And what was one thing you enjoyed most about coaching?
Camaraderie, I suppose, to try and it was like fitting a jigsaw together. So like jigsaw together, trying to fit everyone together to be on the same hymn sheet to enjoy the purpose of what they're doing, and to be, when I say successful, like I was saying, is for me losing. I mean, don't get me wrong, no one likes losing, but don't get me wrong. When I first started coaching, obviously, I got a bit down about it, but I had a different mindset with it. I used to think, okay, again, reflection. What can we do better next week? So if it was something with counter-attacking, what can we do better with our counter-attacking and so forth, But that's what I enjoyed the most. And I've been very lucky wherever I've been, whether that's been Dunmo, Ivory, Chelmsford. Any of them experiences, I've had really good group of people with me. I mean, it's a story for another day, but the reserves that I did with Dunmo one year was just probably, I'd say, that was the best time that I've had in coaching in all of my career today with that side of things, because of what we just achieved with group in such a short space of time. To get from 7th in the table to the final day, literally fighting to get the title, and we just missed out by like 2 points, was gutting. And it was the top team that we had on final day as well. So it was that was it. It was a roller coaster in one loop,
Absolutely, and it definitely sounds interesting, but it shows what you were able to do as a coach and what you're able to do when you go back into things and bring that personality, connect groups, bring them back together, how you think and approach things, those realistic times where you can support players. So, the game needs you back, and I hope that it gets you back in the capacity when you're happy to. But, it's been great to have this build-up and have this conversation towards leading to this podcast episode, and now being able to actually deliver it and get it out there and support you even further. But, I hope the public speaking goes well, and, it lifts off and continues to do that. And I'm glad that you could share your story today and be on the podcast and support it as well, and just share your story. And, it's hard to come out and be open and honest, especially how deep things can get, and you could hear it come from your heart and what was within. But to share it, I think, is shows how strong you are, and that belief inside. But I appreciate you coming on today, Jordan, and I wish you the best of luck in everything. And as I said, I'm a message away, so don't be a stranger. But appreciate you again, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It really has.
Likewise. Well, I'll speak to you soon, and take care again.
Yeah, take care, Luca. Thank you, mate.
No worries, anytime.
That's it. I just want to help others and make them not feel so alone. Because I'm hoping, that there's not people that have gone down any of the same path, but if they have, time does get better. I know that's cliche, but it does get better. And again, it's that circle.